Match number 5. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Not necessarily something I would have personally wanted to book, just because it, takes away from another potential match on the show, but it is supposed to be a yearly tradition now. They actually remembered again this year, so it is going to be the second time at WrestleMania, and I figured I should at least include it in my fantasy booking because, again, it's supposed to be a yearly tradition now. As far as who's in it, I'll put a list of names up on the screen, but it's pretty much everyone that doesn't already have a match, or at least everyone that I could remember that doesn't already have a match. After I mentioned Los Matadors, the previous match, well, I mentioned that they weren't in it. I think I remembered that I didn't put them down to be in this match. They probably would. It doesn't matter. They're not winning. So this match really is just it's just on the card so that everyone who wouldn't normally get a match gets a match at WrestleMania, gets the big payday, gets some exposure, whatever. It's just there to get everyone on the show. Nothing more. And I can understand that. I think it's good that WWE are doing that. They're letting as many people as possible get on the WrestleMania card. Say that they've been to WrestleMania, they've had a match at WrestleMania, get the worldwide exposure on live pay-per-view, and of course get the WrestleMania payday, which for the WWE superstars is probably their biggest payout of the year. Although I'm not really sure how it works now with the network, but it is what it is. So, booking the match, it's just, everyone comes out, says they're going to be in the Battle Royal, they're going to win it, maybe on the Raw or the SmackDown before WrestleMania, everyone that's in the match, they'll all run down to the ring and beat each other up and throw each other out, like they do pretty much every time for the Royal Rumble. And then, one guy will be left standing, it's like, I'm going to win, and, the commentator says, yeah, he's going to win, he won that, he's the favourite to win it, and then he never actually wins it. So, who am I booking to win it? Well, as you can see from the names that I've got up on the screen right now, the Big Show's in there, Kane's in there, Mark Henry's in there, Sheamus are in there. Big names, yes, but they're all already established. So they don't need the win here, it doesn't matter. I'm sort of stuck between 3 names: Luke Harper, Rusev, and Ryback. Ryback, I think I'll probably have him eliminated, first out of the 3 guys there. These 3 are probably the ones that are last. So Ryback goes out, leaves us with Luke Harper and Rusev. Now, obviously this does mean that I don't have Rusev in a big WrestleMania match like he's actually in against John Cena this year, but I'm not really that high on Rusev. I don't really care, but he's US champion, so he should at least go to the end of this match. And then for me, I would have Luke Harper win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. He does need momentum. He doesn't have a title anymore. He lost the IC title. He doesn't have that anymore. He's a big guy, but he's also very athletic. He can do a lot of stuff that most of the big guys can't. I think it'd be perfect for a guy of that size, and relatively new still in WWE. Hasn't really had much of a push outside of, the Authority basically handing him the IC title at one point last year, since leaving the Wyatts. So I would have Luke Harper win, and then hopefully, they wouldn't fuck him up like they did with Cesaro. Hopefully. But again, it's all fantasy booking. Luke Harper isn't even in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal for real, so I'd be the one to book him to win it because WWE seemingly don't want to do that much with him. Match number 6. Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton in a no DQ match. Well, fancy booking my own WrestleMania and actually put a match on the card that is actually happening for real at WrestleMania this year. Partly because I didn't really know what else to do with these guys, and partly because, I suppose it just kind of makes sense for it to happen. At least if I go back again and have the feud start the same with Seth Rollins curb stomping Randy Orton out of action for months. So that will have still happened. So then obviously Randy Orton comes back and wants Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. This, however, is where I would do it different. None of that utter bullshit with Randy Orton pretending to rejoin the Authority and then turning on them. When we all clearly knew exactly what he was going to do, it makes the Authority look like complete and utter morons. Makes Seth Rollins look like a complete and utter moron. We all knew Randy Orton wasn't really joining back with the Authority. We all knew he was going to go after Seth Rollins still. Except the Authority and Seth Rollins, apparently they were completely oblivious to the whole thing, so I wouldn't have any of that bullshit. Randy Orton returns, and he wants to murder Seth Rollins. Simple. So he comes out on Raw, after the fast lane or something probably, when he's returned, demands a WrestleMania match with Seth Rollins. Authority comes out, shoots him down. Doesn't get the match. Doesn't deserve it. Whatever. So, Randy Orton, being the evil, sadistic bastard that he can be, decides to take a page out of Seth Rollins' book and hold someone hostage. So, if you remember, Seth Rollins, threatened to basically snap Edge's neck unless John Cena brought back the Authority. I'll do something similar, although Randy Orton would be the guy doing it, and I would probably pick Stephanie to be the person that would hold hostage. Reason being because, let's face it, Seth Rollins isn't going to agree to a WrestleMania match if Randy Orton threatens to take out J&J Security or Kane or The Big Show. That he doesn't really care about them, he just wants them there as muscle and backup. They're expendable to him. Stephanie McMahon, on the other hand, is the boss. Yeah, and Seth Rollins, being at the Authority, wants to keep Stephanie and Triple H happy. So, Seth Rollins agrees to the match. Now, you may be wondering, why isn't Triple H doing anything to Randy Orton for this? Well, Triple H will already, be setting up to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. So, he'll basically, motivate Seth Rollins and tell him, he has to go out and WrestleMania now. He's got the match with Randy Orton, and he has to destroy Randy Orton for the Authority, for Triple H, and for Stephanie McMahon. Basically, giving him some sort of ultimatum, maybe, if he can't get the job done, if he can't avenge Stephanie McMahon, then maybe he's not the future. Maybe he won't have the briefcase. Maybe he won't have a job. Give Seth Rollins some added incentive to get the job done, while still keeping Triple H out of the feud in a way, so he can face Roman Reigns, but still in a knock-on effect or something. I can't remember the word I'm trying to think of. Still be involved enough with the Orton feud that he's getting revenge through Seth Rollins for his wife Stephanie. So the match is made. Triple H will probably add on the stipulation for no DQ, telling Seth Rollins that the Authority will be there to make sure that Stephanie's avenged as well. Basically plan to kill Orton, whatever. And then the weeks leading up to WrestleMania, just a case of Randy Orton constantly running in during Seth Rollins' matches, trying to murder him, basically. Seth keeps running away, J&J Security keep getting RKO'd, Kane and Big Show get RKO'd, whatever. 1 week they'll, manage to stop Orton, beat the living crap out of him, leave him laying, and then the next week he'll come back out for revenge. Maybe put Big Show and Kane through a table with an RKO, chase off J&J Security while Seth Rollins, pisses himself at the top of the ramp scared shitless. Then the actual WrestleMania match, again, it's going to be no DQ, and what I would do is I would put Seth Rollins over. Randy Orton doesn't need the win, Seth Rollins does. I'm sick of them giving someone the Money in the Bank briefcase and then thinking, oh, they got the briefcase, they're guaranteed pretty much the title, so until then, let's just have him lose to everybody. No, it's not how it works. Build them up. Build them up so when they win the title, they look a little more credible. So I would have Randy Orton lose and put over Seth Rollins, and how I would do it at least to sort of keep Randy Orton, looking strong as well. Have a big clusterfuck ending, the authority, getting involved. Randy Orton fights back. Maybe even Triple H can come down because it is match. This is the order of the matches that I'm doing them in. So Triple H has already had the opening match with Roman Reigns. He comes down now to try and get some of Randy Orton to get some payback for himself and his wife. Roman Reigns might come out, spear the hell out of Triple H, chase off the rest of the authority. Randy Orton will RKO a couple of guys and send them out the ring as well. Roman Reigns will chase them all up the rampway into the back. While Randy Orton is essentially distracted by all this, Seth Rollins, cracks him on the back of the head with the Money in the Bank briefcase, hits the curb stomp, 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins wins, gets the big, push or whatever from beating Randy Orton. Meanwhile, Randy Orton, can at least claim that multiple guys got involved in the finish. He was cracked in the back of the head when he was distracted. So it wasn't entirely clean, but still clean enough that Seth Rollins looked good. So yeah, that's what I would do for Seth Rollins and Randy Orton. I actually forgot Randy Orton's name. Match number 7. The Undertaker versus John Cena. So the streak is now over, and one of the big streak matches that we never got was The Undertaker versus John Cena. However, I still think we should get it at WrestleMania. It will still be an incredible match, it will still be a huge match. And the streak doesn't need to be there, it doesn't need to be on the line to make this match huge. We simply have the legendary Undertaker against John Cena, who's been the franchise of the company for the last decade. They don't need any extra bells and whistles added on, it's a huge match regardless. So, this is how I would attempt to book a WrestleMania match between The Undertaker and John Cena. Obviously we begin at WrestleMania 30 with The Undertaker losing at WrestleMania, losing his streak to Brock Lesnar. Since then, we don't hear or see anything to do with The Undertaker. He's just vanished, just like what we've been getting on TV now. But then, in January, before even the Royal Rumble, the first Raw in January, say, just randomly during one of the matches or segments, anything, it doesn't matter, just completely random, will flash on the Titantron 21-1. And then it'll flash again, saying 22-1 and a question mark. And then it'll disappear. Really quickly, just so we get a glimpse of it. People will be recording the shows or whatever and pausing it, to get a screenshot of it on the Titantron, showing it so we can all see exactly what it is. Something like that, just to get people talking. And keep doing that, for weeks. On Raw, on SmackDown, Superstars, Main Event, whatever shows WWE has going these days. Just have that flash randomly during a match, during a segment, during a video package, maybe even anything. Just have it showing up, but and don't really address it too much. We'll have the commentators like, "What the hell was that?" every so often, but no big deal about it. No, WWE.com article. Oh, The Undertaker, is he coming back? Look at this, all the clues, but they're basically spoon feeding you the storyline. Oh look, it is The Undertaker, he is coming back, he's coming back for WrestleMania. Here, nom nom nom. It just ruins the surprise, so we want to keep it down low so that the company aren't really talking about it, but the fans know it's there and the fans are talking about it, which is what is important. So that's what'll happen for a while. Let's see what we got next. Okay, so now we've had over a month of this, because we're now at Fastlane. That's right, we're skipping past the Royal Rumble, nothing major happens there. Again, maybe it just flashes on the screen during the Royal Rumble match, or before the Royal Rumble match, whatever, it doesn't matter as long as it's on the screen, as long as it's there. Keeps doing it for weeks after that. And we get to Fastlane. Fastlane now, again, it flashes on the screen, only this time, when it disappears, the lights go out with it, the Undertaker's gong hits, and out comes the Undertaker for the first time in almost a year, making his huge entrance. Probably gets a great pop, huge ovation. The fans are going crazy. The Undertaker's back, stands in the middle of the ring, grabs a microphone. What does he say? Well, he talks about obviously his streak being over now, but his career isn't. And what he wants to do is redeem himself for the huge loss he had at WrestleMania last year by getting another win at WrestleMania this year. And then he gives out a warning saying that before the night is over, he's going to make his presence felt. Lights go out, Undertaker is gone. Later that night, John Cena will be in a match. Doesn't matter who against or what it's for, anything. And then lights go out, the Undertaker's gone, lights come back on, the Undertaker's in the middle of the ring. Whoever Cena's against, the Undertaker, will grab by the throat, choke slam, throw him out of the ring. Stare down John Cena. Cena, is like, what do you want with me? What's going on? Undertaker picks him up, tombstones him, leaves. So, next night on Raw, show opens, John Cena coming out to the ring. He's not wasting any time, he's not doing this on WWE.com or the network or anything like that. He's coming straight out to the middle of the ring on Raw the very next night to address The Undertaker and find out what the hell is going on. He'll cut one of his usual promos, he respects The Undertaker, blah blah blah, make a wish, blah blah blah, never give up, blah blah blah. Demands an answer, an explanation from The Undertaker. Lights go out, gong, Undertaker comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone. And The Undertaker will then give his reasoning for tombstoning John Cena. And in his mind, claims that obviously after the big loss, as he's already mentioned, he needs to redeem himself now with another big win at WrestleMania. And going after John Cena, tombstoning John Cena was to make a statement. The statement being that he wants to beat John Cena at WrestleMania. And the reason being for that is that despite not being champion, despite not being in the main event, John Cena is still the big dog in the yard. And I'd have Undertaker use those exact words because obviously people associate The Undertaker as being the big dog in the yard, back to the American Badass gimmick. So he's going after John Cena, the top guy, because he knows that if he beats John Cena, the guy at WrestleMania, he can finally redeem himself. Before Cena can even respond to that, Undertaker picks him up, tombstones him again, and leaves the ring. So after that, for the full week after that, I would keep Cena and The Undertaker off of TV completely. The following week, I would then have video packages for The Undertaker and John Cena. They have, legends and that coming on and talking about them and putting them over, saying how great they are and what kind of a matchup it's going to be and who they think is going to win. And you can have guys, like Triple H, Randy Orton, Batista, Shawn Michaels, all guys that both Undertaker and Cena, have fought at WrestleMania before. So these guys are, can be considered experts at WrestleMania against these guys. So they can give their expert opinion on who's going to win the match, why they might win the match, how the match might go down, whatever. Just adds more hype to the match, makes it bigger, gives it that big fight feel. Undertaker, I would then continue to keep off of TV because again, he's a part-timer, he's a special attraction. We don't need him there every week. Cena, on the other hand, would be there. Continue to cut promos, have the odd match, and when he does have a match, I would have him beat his opponents with the Undertaker's moves. So he might face one guy on Raw one week, finishing with a tombstone, the next week, choke slam, the week after that, maybe even the Hell's Gates, something, And then the final show before WrestleMania, John Cena is once again in the match, beats his opponent, tombstones him, 1, 2, 3. Instead of Cena's music playing, the lights go out, the Undertaker appears. Undertaker picks Cena up for a tombstone, just like he's done 2 times previous to this. This time though, Cena reverses him, tombstones the Undertaker. Lays him out, middle of the ring, right before WrestleMania. So at WrestleMania then, again this is late on in the show, it's the 3rd to last match. The only big match we really have after this is the main event, so we'll go all out with this match, big special entrances for both men, give it tons of time, the fans will be insane for this no matter what, let them really go at it, and then it would end with the Undertaker making Cena tap out in Hell's Gates, making Cena give up, something he claims he would never do. That allows the Undertaker to redeem himself. If this was to be his retirement match, he can go out on top, having beaten the franchise player at the time. And John Cena now, being beaten by the Undertaker at WrestleMania, tapping out, giving up. And that can then allow him to move into the background a little, become a sort of a new Undertaker in terms of a special attraction. He's a big name, a big main eventer, but he isn't always around. He doesn't always need to be around. He can just come back for big matches every now and then, be part of the show without necessarily wrestling every week, something like that. That's the way that I would go with it. Match number 8. AJ Lee versus Brie Bella versus Nikki Bella versus Paige. WWE Divas Championship match. So this is similar to what we're actually getting at WrestleMania, only I'm making it a 4-way for the title rather than a non-title tag match between the same 4 divas. Didn't put much thought into this, I don't really care, just thought I'll stick the Divas title on the line at WrestleMania. Plus we need something in between Undertaker and Cena and the main event coming up next. Match number 9. Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Fairly certain the moment that I announced the first match featuring Roman Reigns, all of you pretty much figured out that Daniel Bryan was going to be the guy I was picking to win the Royal Rumble. Let's face it, most fans wanted him to win the Royal Rumble. Most fans still want to see him in the title match. I think most fans would be happy if the day of WrestleMania WWE decided to change the card and put Daniel Bryan in the title match over Roman Reigns. It's just how it is. So yeah, I'm going with the rather obvious Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship in my fantasy booking of WrestleMania 31. Let's face it, this feud, this match writes itself. Daniel Bryan returns from almost career-ending injury, goes after his WWE Championship that he never lost. Simple. Well, simple unless you're a WWE writer or Vince McMahon, in which case this is absolutely beyond anything you could ever possibly imagine. Yeah, so like I said, this whole thing just writes itself. We have Daniel Bryan returning in the Royal Rumble match and getting the big win. Comes out the next night, says that he's finally back, he's overcome his injury, and now he's going on to WrestleMania to face the Beast Brock Lesnar to reclaim the title that he never lost in the first place. From there we just have Paul Heyman coming out, cutting promos with Bryan, talking up Daniel Bryan, saying how great he is. But at the same time, his client Brock Lesnar is going to steamroll over him at WrestleMania because he's the Beast and cannot be beaten. He conquered John Cena, he conquered the streak, and at WrestleMania he's going to conquer Daniel Bryan. And then meanwhile, match-wise for Daniel Bryan, put him against the big guys, Kane, Big Show, Mark Henry, etc. on TV. Have Daniel Bryan be allowed to wrestle a more aggressive style, more hard-hitting kicks. Basically have him wrestle more like the Ring of Honor character did. Have him beat all of these guys clean, completely clean, in the middle of the ring with either the running knee to the face or make them tap out to the yes lock. Whatever, Daniel Bryan has to win these matches clean. That way, when you put him in the ring with Lesnar at WrestleMania, you think, well, he beat Big Show, he beat Kane, he beat Mark Henry, he beat whoever else, perfectly clean. He might stand a chance against Lesnar. It's all about the fans' perception of people. So, at the same time, while he is winning the big matches like that, and he is getting over clean, and he is looking very good, you still have Paul Heyman making the fans doubt that he can beat Brock Lesnar. Lesnar, on the other hand, obviously isn't going to be appearing on every show because of his contract. So when he is there, I wouldn't so much just have him standing in the ring while Paul Heyman cuts a promo like we tend to get. I would have him just interrupt matches whenever he's at the shows, even if it's only like 4 shows between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Every time he's at a show, interrupt a match, F5 the hell out of everyone in the ring, and just leave. Nothing more needs to be said. Lesnar's come out, destroyed people, and he's gone. The next week, Paul Heyman can cut a promo, putting Lesnar over, talking about Daniel Bryan can't win. Last year he beat Triple H, Randy Orton and Batista in one night, but all 3 of those combined still don't equal a Brock Lesnar, still don't equal a beast. It's all very simple build-up, good versus evil. Brock is the big evil beast, Daniel Bryan is the good little underdog. The fans love him, the fans want to see him succeed, want to see him win. He goes up at WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar, against the beast, against the man who ended the streak, who conquered John Cena, and now Daniel Bryan has to beat him to get back the title. It's his all along, that he's never officially lost. He had to give it away due to injury. It writes itself. This was the first match that I actually wrote down for this whole thing. Despite being the last match on the card, because as soon as I wrote the main event title down, I knew exactly how it should go. It was obvious. And then come the match. Obviously, before the match, on the Go Home show, beat Raw or SmackDown. Raw tends to be the big Go Home show for WrestleMania. SmackDown, before WrestleMania, tends to only have maybe 1 or 2 matches, and then the rest of it is, guys sit around, the table thing, talking about the show, hyping it up. They don't have a proper SmackDown anymore before WrestleMania. So I would do the last segment on the last Raw before WrestleMania. Lesnar and Bryan finally have the confrontation, and then we have, a brawl similar to Punk and Lesnar when they would go at it, where, Punk might be the smaller guy, but he's very good at striking, he's quick. He can get those shots in on Lesnar, and Lesnar will just power him away, but he keeps coming back. Bryan's got the big kicks, the uppercuts, whatever. They just go after each other, beat the crap out of each other. Neither one really gets the upper hand, because Bryan, is the feisty little underdog who just keeps coming back every time Lesnar tries to shove him away to, get some breathing room to try and attack him. Bryan's right back on him. Have security come out to try and break them up, have the entire locker room empty and break them up and hold them off, and that's how the show ends. Both guys being ripped apart from each other by everybody else. Paul Heyman just sort of standing there holding the title, looking at them both, looking slightly worried. Is his client going to win, or is Daniel Bryan going to take the belt from him? And then WrestleMania, the match. I don't really need to go into detail on this. It's going to be Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar. It's going to be incredible. Finish is going to come, and for me, of course, I would have Daniel Bryan win. It just, ends the story nicely. Daniel Bryan comes back from the near career-ending injury, wins the Royal Rumble, defeats the Beast Brock Lesnar, gets the huge rub from Lesnar in beating him for the title, beating the man who beat the streak, who squashed Lesnar at SummerSlam for the title. He gets the big rub, and then, as I mentioned earlier, with Cena losing to The Undertaker the way he did, that, you know, shoves him into the background a little more, as more of a special attraction. This allows Bryan to take that place, to become the franchise player, to become the main guy. You know, he's done it all. He's beat Cena for the title. He's beat Lesnar for the title now. Lesnar was the man that squashed Cena for the title, that ended the streak. You know, so that put Bryan on a whole other level compared to the rest of the roster. And then you still have Cena as the franchise player from the past now. He's a special attraction. And then maybe down the line we can have the rematch between Bryan and Cena for the title, where Bryan again gets the win, only this time we don't have some bullshit Triple H Money in the Bank turn crap. So that's how I will book Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. And there you have it, Big Cal Books WrestleMania 31. Hello there. Thanks for watching Big Cal Books WrestleMania 31. Since all the cool kids are doing it now, this is the part of the video where I ask you if you could very, very, very kindly please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video and post a comment down below. I would love to know what you thought of my booking of WrestleMania 31 and indeed how you would book WrestleMania 31. And don't forget to check out wrestlingreview.co.uk for all my old archived wrestling content and bigcalsworld.co.uk for all my new content from this moment going on. Thanks, I'll see you again next time.